and welcome to How to Be a Money Magpie, the podcast from MoneyMagpie.com. I'm Jasmine Birtles, the founder of MoneyMagpie, and this podcast series looks at all sorts of aspects of money, everything from living for free to investing in cryptocurrencies and whatever in between. Now, today we've just one special guest in the podcast, and that is Rachel Hardy, who is the CEO of Foresters Friendly Society. A mutual, which is a type of organisation that isn't really looked at so much in the press at the moment. So we're going to find out both about Rachel herself and about what a mutual is and what it does. So look, let's just start with the company itself. Can you explain it? So Foresters Friendly Society is a mutual. What's that?
So a mutual is an organisation that is owned by its members, so it does not have any shareholders, there are no shares in place or dividends to pay. And they're really, quite old organisations. They've been around for a few hundred years, so Foresters itself has been around since 1834. If you go back into history, obviously there was no NHS and there was no welfare state. And so that, really made times difficult for some families. In those days, the husband, father of the household would be the only one, who would be in employment. And in the event he was in ill health and couldn't work, for example, the family would just have no income and no support. And therefore, what friendly societies, their original guys, were set up to do was for a group of people to contribute to what's called a mutual fund. So effectively they would pay a small amount of money into this fund, and the families would be able to claim back, in whatever their time of need was, whether that was ill health or old age.
And does that still happen then?
So not in the same way. We are still a mutual, as we said at the outset, so still owned by the members. But these days, we are very fortunate. There is a lot of support provided from the government, so through the NHS and benefit system. So really what we focus on these days is savings and investment products.
So it's called Foresters Friendly Society. I'm guessing it was set up by people who worked in the forest. Is that right?
No, surprisingly not. That's always the assumption that everyone makes. But no, it was based on a sentence. So it was to assist fellow members as they walked through the forests of life.
Oh, I see. Oh, well, that's rather poetic. That's certainly...
Yes, it's lovely.
Oh, great. So the original members were basically anybody, I assume, then?
Yes, anybody. To say it tended to be sort of gentlemen in the first instance that would be sort of making that contribution, but it was them and their families, and very much it was conducted through local branches. So as well as having that mutual fund, they came together, very often for social events and to, just be there for each other. And, that's one of the things we really have tried to carry through our ethos, even into the 21st century. In fact, we're one of the only friendly societies left that still has that branch structure in place.
Interesting. It sounds a little bit like a credit union, run by the members for the members, no shareholders. Are there overlaps, do you find, with credit unions?
Very similar in the sense that, they would also tend to be mutuals, yes. But I think, ours is quite different in the focus in terms of what the products are. So, credit unions you would tend to find, are making loans and financial services of that nature, whereas ours is much more directed towards the savings and investment space.
So what would you say are the three key things that make you as a brand different, not just because you're a mutual, but because you're Foresters?
Yeah, so I'd say definitely, still having that branch network does make us unique. So we refer to them as courts. So that's what we call our local branches.
Mm.
And they still meet today. So we have 189 of them across the UK. They don't sell, the insurance, savings, investments products themselves locally these days. Obviously, that's regulated and done through our head office. But they still come together often to meet. They run social events. They perform befriending services, for example, and that's one of the things that they've really spent a lot of time on during the pandemic over the last 12 months, is really reaching out to our members just through the telephone, make sure they're okay, they know that we're still here.
Right. So it's kind of a mixture of an investment house and a charity, really.
Yes, I suppose so. I guess we see that side of it as being benevolence. But, you asked me about sort of what 3 things make us different. I mean, definitely another one would be our member benefits. So we do offer a lot of discretionary benefits, healthcare towards dental and optical costs, for example. If you are 16 plus and need some support with education, we have grants in that area. We give out financial assistance grants as well. In 2019, we paid out about 1.6 million, expecting it to slightly top that in 2020. And I think, really important for us over the last 12 months is our Foresters Support Fund. We have allowed members to claim from that, if they've been directly or indirectly affected by the COVID-19 pandemic. So we have been providing financial assistance to members. Obviously, a lot of people have been affected and lost their incomes, for example.
Quite. So, as you say, you've got your investment products. I mean, on the whole, what would you say are the rates? I mean, you don't need to give me figures necessarily, but I'm thinking, say you compared them to the sort of savings bonds, etc., that you might get on the high street, or between that and say, stock market index tracking funds. I think, what are they? Would they be somewhere in between that, or are they more on the level of savings bonds? What would you say in terms of return?
So I think it's important to understand that the majority of our business is something called with profits. And so the aims of with profits products is very much to smooth the investment returns that our members receive. So, there should not be that much volatility. They should expect to receive similar amounts in good years and bad years. And obviously 2020 was a very volatile year for investment markets. So we pay 2 things to our policyholders. One is what's called an annual bonus. And then we also get something called a terminal bonus. And annual bonuses, so that would be sort of, I guess, your equivalent to an interest rate if you were talking about a traditional financial services ISA product, for example. Our rates, don't quote me, I think around the 1 to 1.5% moment at the moment.
Yes.
For that annual bonus. But the terminal bonus part, that really gives you back your sort of full share of the funds. So however your particular, little pot within our big organisation has performed, you get the full value of that back at the point that you cash in your policy, it matures, etc.
Okay, so you could potentially get quite a bit more than say 1% or where if things have done well over that time, could you?
Yes, absolutely.
And so what sort of a person on the whole would you say is a Foresters Friendly Society member? I'm sure it goes across all the ages, etc. But what would you say is the bulk of your membership? What kind of people are they?
So we're very evenly spread actually across the age categories. I think, we really do have something for everybody. In terms of our active members, so those that really participate in our branches and our governance structure, they do tend to be, I would say, the older generation. And that I think is because they are drawn to that social benevolent aspect. Some of these will be retirees that have time to give back and make those befriending calls that we talked about previously. But, we have lots of young people joining, lots of parents these days investing in junior ISAs. They're very aware of the costs of further education, etc. And we're one of the very few providers that offer a lifetime ISA. So this is the product that allows, young people to save for purchasing their first house. So we do have a number in that age category too.
My sense of mutuals and certainly friendly societies is in particular, as you say, the investing for children. What do you offer for children? You mentioned junior ISAs. Is there anything else that you offer in terms of investing for children?
Yes, so the other plan we have is something called a child tax exempt saving plan. So this is a product that is unique to friendly societies. So they are, the only types of organisation you will see offering this plan. And this is where you put £25 a month into this plan, a minimum term of 10 years, but, can go out to as far as 25. And you can pick the term. So as the parent, you say, I'd like to give this gift to my child on their 18th birthday, their 21st, whatever it might be. So that's, a very low cost, regular savings plan that a lot of our members like because it's affordable at that level.
I can imagine. And so let's have a little word about you, because you've only been CEO for a year. I say only, a year is not a long time, although I bet last year felt like a long time for you.
Yes, it was certainly a baptism of fire.
What have you learnt particularly on the job as a CEO? As you say, it will have been a baptism of fire in the last 12 months or so. But what things have you picked up that you thought, oh gosh, I hadn't thought of that, and this is different, this is unusual? Anything that you picked up in the last 12 months at Foresters?
I think what's really interesting is the interaction with members. So when you become chief executive, members know who you are, know you personally, and feel able to contact you in that role. And I think, what that brings for me is lots of different perspectives. We all have our own opinions about how something should be, how it should be taken forward. But it's really lovely actually to hear from a variety of people and avoid, I guess, that groupthink dynamic that can sometimes come about. So that's been a real pleasure.
It does sound like it is a genuinely friendly society. People actually take part. It's quite a community then.
Absolutely. We have some very passionate members. And I think what's really interesting is when you talk to them, they're very proud to tell you that they are a fourth generation Forester. And we actually have associated with us a Foresters Heritage Trust Museum. So they have a lot of records of the Friendly Society, going back into the 1800s. So people are able to do things like family research. So that's great for them as well.
Oh, that's fun. And what are your plans to grow and change Foresters in the near future? Are there any that you're allowed to tell me?
So one of the things we're working on really is on our distribution rather than the products themselves. So we've recently moved into offering our products through employee benefit platforms. So this is where, employees of various organisations, you'll be aware that a number of large employers offer these where you can go in and pick your childcare vouchers or your cycle to work scheme, things like that. So that's one of the new routes that we are going down, to have more of an online presence, through that channel, which is new to us, but very exciting. And I think, bringing Foresters to a different market of people that, have probably never heard of a friendly society before.
Yeah, definitely. So what's your biggest tip for people to grow their wealth long term, would you say?
I think for me, it's slow and steady wins the race. There's all small amounts that you are able to save, will add up to something bigger in the long term. It's definitely never too early to start, but similarly, it's never too late either. It's about a habit and a mindset, and just putting these small amounts away before you know it have built up to something that you look at and think, wow, I'm really pleased that I achieved that.
And so finally, Rachel, you've got a really busy job. So what do you like to do in your spare time? Do you have spare time? And if so, what do you like to do? What makes you tick?
Yeah, so not much is the short answer, but I am a mother, so I have an 11-year-old daughter and an 8-year-old son, so very much my spare time is, devoted to family time with them, and you'll understand obviously the challenges over the last 12 months of homeschooling that have been around that too, so we're very relieved to send them back to school this week, as I'm sure they were relieved to go actually and be able to see their friends again. But my daughter particularly is a drama fan, and I like the theatre too, so one of the things we're very much looking forward to post-COVID is going to be able to go to the theatre together again.
Oh, of course. Yeah, that'll be great. Well, thank you so much, Rachel. That's Rachel Hardy, who is CEO of Foresters Friendly Society. And Rachel, what's the website? What's the URL for Foresters for anybody who'd like to look it up?
It's forestersfriendlysociety.co.uk.
Oh, well, that's nice and easy. forestersfriendlysociety.co.uk. Go and have a look. And that's your lot from us today. Don't forget to follow us on Twitter and Instagram. And our handle is, of course, at MoneyMagpie for both of these. And you can follow me too on Twitter at Jasmine. And on Instagram, I'm at Jasmine Bertels. If there's a particular subject you'd like us to cover on the podcast, just let us know on the Money Magpie message boards, because we'd love to get your ideas. Today's episode was presented by me, Jasmine Bertels, and the producer was Jenny Bertels.